got to bring in the UFL analyst and dad of the year, Sam Acho. Sam, thank you so much for joining us today on Father's Day. Appreciate you being here. Here's my first question. Everything about this game felt like when we were coming in, we're talking Stallions, right? It's all about UFL MVP Adrian Martinez. And then this defense pitches a shutout for the Stallions. When you watched this game, what about the defense stood out to you for Birmingham tonight?
Well, first thing, happy Father's Day to you, Daniel Dopp, and all the fathers out there. But second thing, what stood out to me was the dominance, not just of the entire defense, but specifically Kiava Tizino, that linebacker who had not only 9 tackles, but 2 forced fumbles. That one peanut punch in the second quarter, that completely, not necessarily changed the momentum, but showed me that one team came to play and one team didn't. The physicality from the beginning, the team swarming the ball. San Antonio, you heard Chase Garber say, man, we got to run the ball. We heard it on the audio. San Antonio could not run the ball. The entire front four and the linebackers and the safeties were hunting from top to bottom, and that's a shout out to new defensive coordinator Corey Chamberlain. Corey Chamberlain, a 5-time champion, right? He's a champion in the XFL, champion all across the league, USFL as well. And so I just am impressed and amazed by how not only focused and dialed in, but how detailed the defense of the Stallions was.
All right, well, so let's go over to the offensive side here because, you know, Adrian Martinez, the MVP of the league, the MVP of this game, but had under 100 yards throwing, still 3 touchdowns. And Skip Holtz kept on saying, we had to be patient, we had to be patient, we had to find ways to run the ball. So overall, when you look at Martinez's performance, what do you make of it in this game?
It was up and down. It was shaky, if I'm being totally honest. And the reason you talk about have to be patient is, remember, last week, I called the game last week. Adrian Martinez got benched last week. He had multiple turnovers. And then the week before, he had 5 sacks. And so you're looking at, okay, I got to be patient. Adrian Martinez, you have to do what's called. And so sometimes we saw that, sometimes we didn't. And so you heard Skip Holtz coaching, even when they were up by 25 points in the fourth quarter. Skip Holtz is still trying to coach Adrian Martinez, teach him how to be patient, lean on the run game, lean on the offensive line. But for me, when I hear patience, I see, man, I don't want to go back to how we were the last 2 weeks where it was struggles at the quarterback play.
Yeah, when you look at this, like, I was a little bit surprised, and Skubie and I talked about this. When you come into halftime and you're only up 8-0, is there a chance that maybe you make that same kind of a move, put Matt Corral in to spark a little bit of energy there? Obviously, stuck with Adrian Martinez and things worked out. Part of that, though, Sam, is on the other side of the ball. I want to talk about San Antonio for a minute because they just looked undisciplined. They looked unprepared. It felt like Chase Garber's left a couple of plays on the field that really hurt his team. I want to ask you, what went wrong for San Antonio? And you can't say everything.
Well, I'll say this. The moment seemed too big for San Antonio. What do I mean by that? Moment being too big. Okay, you saw some costly penalties. The clock runs out, right? 3, 2, 1. Okay, you got to call a timeout. Defense fighting for no reason after a punt. And you saw Chase Garber not only slide short once, I think he slid short earlier in the game if the ref called it a first down. So that's kind of like, okay, man, the moment can't be that big. On that play, Garbers, you have to go and get that first down. That's why you see Anthony McFarland so upset. You saw drop passes as well. On that 4th and 19 in the end zone, that was a drop pass. It bounced off the receiver's chest. And so what happened for one team, moment being too big, did not happen for the other in Birmingham. They were ready for this. That's that championship DNA that people talk about.
Yeah, we had Tom on last week, and he kind of felt like San Antonio had the momentum coming into this game, and that momentum was pretty shut down. And the moment just wasn't big for Skip Holtz, right? And they've done this over and over and over again. So explain to us how difficult it is for someone to not just win a championship 3 times, but to do it with 3 different starters at the quarterback position, because that's unprecedented.
And 3 years in a row. I got a chance to call the last 2 games for the Birmingham Stallions. So Skip Holtz, we had meetings with them the last several weeks. I actually went and watched their practice 2 weeks ago as they were getting ready for their Week 10 game. And some things stood out. The first thing that stood out was Skip Holtz's presence, not even of mind, just his presence. At practice, I was talking to him, and he had this kind of calming presence about him. And they would go on, and they would win that game, right? They had just lost to San Antonio. They'd go on, they'd beat Michigan. And then we interviewed him again. We said, hey, what do you want people to know about this team? And he said, man, I want the world to know how resilient this team is. I want everyone to know how together this team is, how much they care about one another. He said it's hard to win 3 championships back to back to back, no matter what level you're at. And he's done it with 3 different types of teams. And so for me, I'm impressed by Skip Holtz's calm demeanor, but also his team's togetherness and their resilience based off hearing what he said. That was, mind you, right after a loss. There was no fret and there was no worry. There was no fear.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. And watching him come out of those 2 games, Adrian Martinez struggled last week, still fought through a huge decision, obviously, in putting Matt Corral in. I mean, this moment, you talk about the moment being too big for some people. It was not too big for Skip Holtz in any way, shape, or form. I got one last question for you, Sam Acho. This was my first time covering the UFL. This was my first year. I know that you've been doing this spring football for a minute. My question for you is, out of this entire season, there were so many fun moments. Did you ever get a chance to be a part of the beer snake? Please tell me the answer was yes.
I got some bad news for you. The answer is no. So my first year covering UFL, it was XFL last year, I had no games in D.C. I don't think I had D.C. one time. I had every other team. San Antonio, Seattle Sea Dragons, right? I was in Seattle probably 3 of the first 5 weeks, St. Louis, and I didn't have D.C. Now this year I called D.C. one time, and then I was like, man, I'm going to go back into the season, but they ended up changing the schedule, ended up having that Birmingham Stallions game. And so I did not experience the beer snake. I saw it on TV like everybody else.
All right. So just tell us your favorite moment from the season then, because you were in the trenches.
Yes.
You got to see the fans, talk to players, talk to coaches, go to practices. Any favorite moments that you can share with us from this season?
My favorite moment, Skubie, was week 1. We were calling the San Antonio game. They might have been playing St. Louis, week 1 or week 2, and they had that fake punt. Remember that fake punt? It was like a fake field goal looking thing. And then Brad Wing threw it to Alex Millette. He scores the touch. Alex Millette, who's a center, by the way, scores a touchdown. None of us expected it. And the reason why it's my favorite is this. I had gone to San Antonio's practice that week. I was there in the heat watching all the stuff, and I didn't see that play. I'm thinking, okay, what happened? I didn't see the play. Well, come to find out, I talked to their special teams coordinator, Peyton Pardee. He said, dude, we meant to practice that play when you were there, but we didn't because their kicker, Donald Delahaye, right, destroying, he kept on nailing 40, 50, and 60-yard field goals, so that special teams period ended up being him kicking field goals. They wanted him to miss that so they can go to practice their fake. And so the long story short, just the stuff that you don't expect at the UFL, and just some of the cool stuff that you always see.
We didn't even get to see Destroying this year. I mean, he was one of the guys we were most excited about coming into the UFL. We barely got to see him.
Big tackle?
Yeah.
He had the big tackle.
Huge tackle.
Took him out.
Yeah, it took his season out.
Bad form.
That's exactly, yes. You want to make better tackles if you are a kicker or a punter there. Hey, Sam, thank you so much for joining us, man. This was an awesome season, and especially today on Father's Day, staying up so late. We appreciate you, dude. We're going to let you go. Thank you very much. Have a great night, dude.
Peace out, Sam.
Thanks,
Love
Sam.
you, brother.
Hey.
Awesome. Love you guys. Appreciate it. Happy Father's Day, everybody.